Hey guys, it's Mitch. How's it going? We're going to take a look at the Maxx #1 today. And since Sam Kieth is an artist that kind of baffles me a lot of the time, I've actually brought in some help on this one. You may have heard me talk about my buddy Jay from time to time. We started out making comics together, and he's agreed to join me on this one. How you doing today, Jay?
Doing well.
All right. So if shit, I forget now how to start it. If you enjoy the channel, if you feel like you might want to help out a little bit, what you can do is in the description, there's a link to my Patreon. And if you subscribe there, that'll give you access to everything I do, from the Blood Force stuff to the YouTube videos before they get uploaded to YouTube, as well as some Patreon exclusive content. All right. So let's see. Maxx #1. This is, we're talking March of 1993. And this is kind of the first big expansion, it feels like, for the Image guys. This came out at the same time as Darker Image #1, which I did do a video on earlier. I don't know if you want to take a quick look at that, though, just to kind of refresh it.
Yeah, maybe. It's a good story.
It's not bad. I do love this cover.
It's a great cover.
Yeah, get your Sam Kieth in early. This is sort of an image Sam Kieth comes back to pretty often. I think this is calling back to the cover from Marvel Comics Presents #85. It's the shot of Wolverine on a log. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah, pretty iconic, right?
Yeah. Only this is post telephone cord Sam Kieth. So this is after he figured out how to do the spiraling rips. And I think these kind of shots would take him for fucking ever. So the story in this, see, this is the thing. I don't know how to talk about this kind of stuff. Like, the story in this is just, it's very, it feels metaphorical and kind of non sequitur-ish and just random a lot of the time, to me anyway. But we're starting out in the outback here because the Maxx series takes place half in New York, I believe, and then half in some kind of fantasy version of Australia, where, like, you know, the Maxx gets pursued by this giant with, what was it? It's like a petrified whale heart for a club.
Yeah, it's like the air whale.
Right. I think the air whale comes up often for Sam Kieth, although I might be thinking of something else.
And it's an amazing. I love the drawing of this giant.
Yeah, it's
so
pretty
cool.
wild. I think this kind of thing is referential to some of Arthur Suydam's early stuff, which is I'm not really familiar with, but I saw a couple of things like, oh, that's where Sam Kieth gets it from. I know he does. He was like kind of an acolyte of his for at least part of his influences. So yeah, Maxx gets pursued across the savannah here. I do like some of these shots with all the threads like flying off the Maxx here. It's pretty great.
It's kind of Looney Tunes energy too, right?
Oh yeah.
Which is very different. It's very different from anything else being produced by Image at this point.
Yeah, there's a cartoony element that's always kind of ever present in Sam Kieth's stuff that, yeah, you're just not going to see in anybody else's work at Image.
And my sense, I was sort of boning up a bit on Kieth, and I was reading an interview with him, and he talked about, he's very self-deprecating, and if you went on this interview, you would conclude that he was this shambolic dude who'd kind of failed at drawing Sandman, and kicked around Marvel a little bit, did some drawings of Wolverine, and then the Image thing happened, and he got offered a spot.
Like he somehow tricked his way into it or something.
And he it's, you know, so he makes it sound, he lumps himself in, I think if I recall correctly, he sort of just lumps himself in with Dale Keown a little bit as part of maybe the phase 2 or something, and that neither of them had much of an idea. And for him, he said something like, you know, the Maxx was just an excuse to draw like circles and triangles, like, you know, it was just you know, I think he's joking about the character design, but it is a great character design, because it just lets him do his squat, hunched over, Bigfoot
Mass,
anatomy, right?
yeah, and like
It's
just
the
over render all the musculature and like put in all the detail he wants in there.
it's almost like the Keith creation, and
Yeah.
he doesn't have to worry about fanboys complaining that he's ruining their childhood memories or whatever, because I think people loved him or hated him at the time.
Yes, I think a lot of editors didn't like him very much, from what I understand, or maybe that's just kind of through what I've heard from Keith interviews. It sounds like a lot of editors didn't really get him. I mean, I can see it for like the first Sandman stretch because I don't know, that stretch doesn't look great, but I think a large part of that is down to the inking. I think they assigned a guy onto him that just it didn't mesh with his style,
Yeah.
and I think that just kind of hastened his departure from the book. That's how he still makes a living, by the way, is royalties off the Sandman.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's not surprising.
Well, I mean, he started it, right?
Yeah, and if you're gonna own a Sandman, if you're just a casual person, and you're into Neil Gaiman, you're gonna buy the first book, which is where he is, right?
Exactly.
Anyways, I just wanted to throw that out, that I'd read this interview, and he made it sound like he came up with Maxx on the back of a napkin.
I mean, he might have, to an extent. I'm pretty sure that the Maxx storyline is largely just kind of improvised. I don't think there was a whole lot planned out. This was kind of actually this was reaffirmed a little bit. One of the guys I talked to a bit. He's Uncle Jerk. He does Jerk Comics, and he interviews a lot of guys. Actually, one of the guys he interviewed was Bill Mesnerlopes, and they had a kind of extended conversation. And I think he pretty much confirmed that Sam was just kind of coming up with this stuff on the fly. And yeah, I mean, it's a hell of a comic for one that's again just being come up with on the fly.
But and I would say it's this little story is actually maybe to push back a little bit against your point that it can feel very random. I actually would say that this little story in Dark Image is fairly satisfying in that you get this kind of cool fantastical setting established, and this pretty cool chase scene done in this very unusual style, and then there's this total reversal at the end, which is neatly underscored by those two panels of the two panels of his
well there's the reflection here,
and you realize
skulls.
Yeah, and there's this interesting moment of like, oh, is this someone with a mental health issue? Is he, so it's a very I think as a little setup, it works perfectly.
Well, yeah, as an 8-page story, it feels like a perfect kind of summation for whatever his idea was.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, it's okay. There's this guy, and he's not so much like a superhero as he is just kind of crazy. And there's this woman here, and he kind of has this distorted view of her and of the city they're in. Every once in a while, he kind of calms down. But I should just again mention the amazing design of these pages that Sam Keith would pull out. It's fucking wild.
It's incredible stuff. And it's Julie, right? Am I getting that right? She looks almost like you can almost see like a Robert Crumb influence in that.
Oh,
shot.
well, I think it's a bit more Frazetta.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Frazetta I for sure see.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the bell bottoms.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, because Sam Keith did like to do that kind of thing. And then end on just this wild shot. Oh my god, that's just like half white media of telephone cords flying out in every direction.
Do you think there's some subtle, maybe semi-conscious allusion to like McFarlane's spider webbing and us? I don't know how conscious Keith would be of this, but like this sense that like the way you become successful as a comic artist in the late 80s is you got to be a noodler and you got to go off brand with everything.
maybe I wish I could confirm one way or the other. I don't really know what his pre-Sandman stuff looks like because I know he
Yeah.
did some stuff in like I Before E and like he was in a lot of the indie scene before he got picked up by DC.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wish I could say for sure. It doesn't stick around for very long. The telephone cords, I think, just as a matter of efficiency, because if you're going to be doing this kind of thing on every page, then you're not going to get a comic out more than like 4 times a year. I think it feels like it was just kind of a fun phase. That
Yeah.
I mean, it's a memorable one. I remember these things coming out and thinking it looked amazing, but I don't think it stuck around too long.
Everyone, I will say, I know we got to talk about Maxx issue 1, but I actually feel like everyone in this issue of Darker Image, they're all sort of going for it. Like,
yeah,
I've never seen more work on a Rob Liefeld comic.
Yeah, you love this bit, eh?
I love it, but it's also like even in Jim Lee's, Jim Lee is trying to go Frank Miller, and
He's trying something. Yeah,
everyone's putting effort in. It's an interesting little comic.
more so than they would later, but yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. All right, so yeah, Maxx #1. So yeah, March '93. This comes out a couple of months after Pit #1. So they are the second wave. From what I understand, it was Jim Lee that brought them both in, actually, which seems to be a bit of a point of contention. Nobody's too sure about who brought who in, but that seems to be the most agreed upon result.
Mm-hmm.
Because he wanted like underground guys, which I mean, I can see with Sam Kieth. Yeah, it's very different from anything Imagey. Dale Keown, I don't know. The only thing I can think with that is that he started out in Air Cell, so he did start out in like indie comics.
Yeah, but Sam Kieth for sure was into stuff like Love and Rockets and he was into Cerebus and I have to say, like, I think I really liked the Maxx, and I think one of the reasons I liked the Maxx is because by the time the Maxx gets started, I'm already like the bloom is off the rose. I'm already starting to lose interest in Image.
Didn't even last a year, right?
Well, I mean, it doesn't take long to realize that there was some kind of low level grift happening. I mean, at least as soon as you got Brigade issue 1, which is, it's like the worst comic book ever made. I think the cartoonist Kayfabe guys might have said that at one point, and they actually like Rob Liefeld.
Yeah, but I mean, liking Rob is a lot different from liking Merritt Michaels.
Yeah,
I like Merritt Michaels because he provides me with content. That's about it.
But but this was, to me, the Maxx. I'm not saying it was like a gateway drug per se, but it was almost like for me, it was pointing the way forward toward things that I like. I would really get into like Cerebus and Ed the Happy Clown, and this to me was almost like it had a foot in that world in a way.
Yeah, very much. Like this is just kind of steering you away from the glossy kind of it's typical superhero thing, because that's very much not what this is.
Yeah. So it's interesting that they perceived him as like underground.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that absolutely, because again, it just would have been so fucking different from what they were coming up with. I think it. I don't know. I'm curious about the thinking, because he wasn't one of the big flashy guys. They already had Val as their kind of experiment for, let's take a guy who's not super popular and see if we can make him popular.
Mm-hmm.
And so I assume that at least some of them were fans of Sam Kieth. Probably not too many thinking about it, but it's at the very least, it sounds like Jim Lee was.
Yeah, I mean, I not to bang the drum on the kayfabe guys, but I think at one point they, to make sense of Sam Kieth's involvement, I think someone made the point that at the end, like the early Image guys, they're not the house style guys. They're not the Marvel house style guys, and so Kieth is like
they're the guys who kind of grew beyond that.
Yeah, and he's like the far edge of that in a way, in a weird sort of way.
Yeah, no, that's true. I feel if I had to think about it, I would think that just his level of abstraction is
Mm-hmm.
beyond anything they can really grasp for the most part. I don't know. That maybe not. Maybe I'm just, I just have a low opinion of Image guys. But so I guess we should start off here. And I mean, like, if you're the Maxx #1 was pretty heavily hyped and pretty heavily printed and distributed. Actually, it's got a pretty high print run. I don't remember buying the first #1, but I can kind of imagine in '93 picking up, oh man, it's this new superhero comic, and then opening up and what the fuck am I even looking at?
Yeah. Yeah, I bought mine at the time. It's mint and worthless.
Of course. Yeah. What are you talking about? You can sell that for like $250 these days.
Yeah, and probably the later run. I don't think they had the quantity. Maybe they didn't have the quantity.
No, actually, yeah, no. I think like post, I'm not sure, like issue 22 or something. There are issues that are just about impossible to get.
Interesting.
I assume at that point the print run must have dropped off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna start. Basically, we're gonna start with the Maxx here, who is a homeless person in a box, because that was, I guess, part of the original idea for Sam Kieth, and just the most insane panel border you've ever seen in your life. I don't know if this is significant of anything. I don't think it is, from what I've heard. Like, it's not some sort of key to anything in the future. It feels like he just designed this at random.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that if it was in an Alan Moore comic, you'd be like, oh, there's some logic to this, and it's going to fit together. And if you cut up the issue, it makes a puzzle or something.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that's the case here.
No.
Yeah. So we're going to start.
It's just crazy.
Yeah. So we're going to start with the most typical 1993 opening you can think of, which is a mugging, where some gorgeous woman gets dropped off by a cab driver. She thinks that he doesn't know where he's let her out. Turns out that this is actually a scheme he's got going on with these two guys, where they're going to, mug her, possibly murder her, and the cab driver gets a third of the profits here.
I actually really, what I have to say, you're right. Like, every comic in this era starts with like a mugging.
Yes.
In an alleyway, but this is handled like way more thoughtfully.
Yeah, and it's a lot more gruesome.
It's more gruesome, but there's also like a logic to why this woman is here, because there's
no other reason why she would be here. That, at least not off the top of your head.
I was all like, with Batman, I was always like, why would his parents go through that alley? It doesn't make any sense, right?
No, they're rich.
So I actually quite like that. They've thought through. There's a bit of a con here where how they bring their victims in.
Yeah, no, it is. And yeah, it does have that just kind of extra edge to it, where there's a nastiness in here, like in the description. This is Bill Messner-Loebs doing the script here. But like, they're gonna get, like, they beat people up, take their money, kill them sometimes. Cab driver gets a third. One woman, they beat her head so hard against the sidewalk they cracked the concrete. Another got away by running 3 blocks on a broken foot. Like, that's just like unpleasant.
Mm-hmm.
But, and like, not really kind of the level of detail you're used to getting in a superhero book mugging. Just the implication, I guess, that not all of these muggings get rescued.
That's right.
Muggies. And anyway, so one of the coins rolls off to the Maxx's box, where the little guy goes to retrieve it and gets pulled in immediately. I like the randomness of the skinny panels here.
Yeah, it works well with the thumb coming down on the coin, and I love the cartoonish. It's like a little cartoon. It actually works and unfold. You can almost animate it, and I love how he gets sucked in, and all you see is the scarf.
Yeah, well, they did animate it too, right? You remember the
MTV
series?
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yes.
And yeah, so the narrative device here is sometimes it's luck that saves them, sometimes it's fate, but sometimes it's me. We got our kind of hero shot here of the Maxx, because the little guy just got, I imagine, destroyed in there.
And you could see what he was talking about in that interview, where he says with Maxx, it's just an excuse to draw a big circle and a triangle.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think he had to come up with some pretty convoluted stuff to explain the teeth here. I don't know if you probably I don't know if you've ever looked into it. It's not actually teeth, but I won't say anything more in case anybody wants to get into the Maxx. But yeah, I mean, triangles are everywhere, from the teeth to the fist spikes to the giant feet, which I know you're a fan of.
Love it. Well, and also there was a time when back in high school, I shouldn't say back in high school, like even recently, like fucking around with drawing, like I just default to Sam Keith style mimicry when I don't know what to do. Because it's just fun, like it's just fun to lay, you know, you talk about how much you like drawing faces and what, like it's just fun to draw, like, you know, giant like ankles and
just pylon feet.
Yeah, man. I love it.
One thing I love about what Sam Keith does is just the way he does musculature, the way he shades it. I can't quite grasp it, where it's like very, very deep shadows. But I mean, we'll see other examples of it that are probably better. But I don't know. He does awesome fake musculature.
He'll do awesome fake musculature, but then the like outline will be like a perfect circle.
Yes.
And it's this bizarre tension between like crazy detailed Wolverine hair and this like cartoon line.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it almost doesn't make sense. I mean, it looks amazing every time he does it. But again, it's like baffling to me. It's like, why would you even do that? Like it works, so that's why. I just wish I understood why it works.
Can I say two more things that I think work really well about the mugging that make it unconventional for its time?
Oh, for sure, man.
One is when he says, "But sometimes it's me," and then the cops are like, "Sometimes it's us," and he's like, "Damn, I was talking out loud again."
Yeah, it gets kind of undercut.
Yeah, and that is like taking a pin, bursting the bubble of like so many ridiculous comics of that era.
Yep.
And it's almost it's actually the kind of satire you do in Blood Force with Popo.
Yeah, not too far off. Yeah,
it's not too far off, and it's just what's fabulous about that moment is like you know it's reasonably well scripted by Keith's collaborator, but when that moment happens, you're like, oh
yeah,
there's something off with this guy.
We're already off the rails a little bit. This is
we're off the rails. And then the third thing that's sort of amazing, one, the mugging has a thoughtful logic behind it. Two, it's his dramatic monologue suddenly revealed to you as his.
Turns out it's less of an internal monologue than we thought.
Yeah, and then the third thing is like they forget the woman.
Yeah, and it turns out it doesn't work out for her after all anyway.
Yeah, so which never happens, right?
No.
And at least if it happens here, it's almost it's like dark comedy. It's to comedic effect, right?
Yeah, I mean, because she gets after the police take Maxx and I guess they take the other guy. Maybe they don't actually, because Maxx is the only one in the car later. They take him away, and the woman is left in the alley, and Mr. Gone comes up, and I mean, the shot we're left with is her shoe flying off and a blood stain. So I think we can kind of figure out that she's not exactly going to get a happy ending out of this.
No, and it's totally, it's like it's revisionist comics, right? It's poking fun at that kind of, McFarlane always had all the muggings in Spider-Man and Spawn, and
it's always it's like to the letter for like an ABC kind of mugging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like Sam Keith saying, "I'm going to own the alleyway."
Yeah, I could see that. And again, with this insane fucking page layout, like just this one here with Mr. Gone, I don't even know how you come up with this with like the circle kind of template here, and then like this is more almost like a photograph flying off. It's just wild decisions. Oh, and the Shadowhawk trade paperback. Out of the shadows. Minimal marketing. Yes. Yeah, the cops are going to take the Maxx away here. Not a lot going on here in terms of any kind of development. Except that, Maxx gets you know, you get the feeling that Maxx is just not in control of his actions. I mean, he says he's not really. He says I'm out of control again, but
Yeah.
he's losing track of days. He's getting this chung 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 sound effect. Isn't just an effect. It is something that he hears in his head every once in a while.
Yeah, and it's he's shows slightly more self-awareness than he did in the Darker Image comic.
Yeah. So maybe he's like a bit more lucid at this particular point, and maybe he'll lose it later on. I mean, there's parts in the Darker Image that don't quite match up. Like Outback Maxx in Darker Image doesn't match Outback Maxx later in the Maxx series, where he doesn't have the long hair and doesn't look so much like quite have that tribal look to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Another wild panel design here. Doesn't really reflect the first page at all, but it feels like there's similarities. And now we're back to the Outback. Yeah. Where that page is kind of gorgeous.
Yeah, well, he saw fit to sign it, eh?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. So he knew what he had there. Okay. Maxx wakes up in the Outback. That's pretty much all there is to say with this page, other than it's fucking beautiful.
I'm trying to think of that guy who was a collaborator, Ralph Steadman.
Wow, that sounds familiar. What did he collaborate on?
Ralph Steadman did I illustrated, I believe, like Animal Farm at one point, and he illustrated the famous Rolling Stones gonzo journalist Hunter S. Thompson. Like I believe he collaborated with him at one point. But if you look up his work, he's got the ink line. It reminds me very much in this picture of like Ralph Steadman, which has a very distinctive.
Okay.
It's this messy kind of ink line that reminds me a little bit of Sam Keith. Very experimental.
Yeah, I can see it. Where just that messiness.
Yeah.
Like you're allowed to have that messiness in the finished product.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, this is kind of where I don't know. Like where I stop being able to really say much about it, other than just kind of describe what happens, which is that the Maxx starts to get sucked down by little white hands, which are from Iz's, and he imagines what is she called? The Leopard Queen, which is Julie in this particular world. And for her, he can be a hero. And yeah, see, like I see this stuff and I'm like, okay. I guess this is sort of a summation of that kind of like hero complex. It's a weird one, but that tracks.
Yeah, I think at this point he's in the sort of delusion. Right. He's in the delusion.
Yeah, although I know the Outback keeps coming back, and I think it takes on more significance as the comic kind of progresses. But that's sort of I don't know, maybe not the danger of doing comic kind of improvisationally, but it is one of the side effects.
He is going to the story gets complicated because early on I think we think it's all in his head.
Yeah.
But the comic is going to sort of it's going to trouble that a little bit. I was just going to say how much I love the crazy little Looney Tune hands.
Yes.
Juxtaposed against the like photorealistic
jaguar here,
jaguar or leopard or whatever. Like I kind of love that. And that like that strip I'm working on is a little bit playing with that idea of like the photorealism juxtaposed against the cartooniness, and
that's true. Yeah,
there's something I love about this style.
Yeah,
like you can do anything.
No, you can, and yeah, like Sam is a constant reminder of that. At least there's some wild design stuff going on here. This is like something I almost never noticed on the right hand page with the Maxx kind of melding into the panel here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's him conjuring up the image of her, and that's what inspires him to leap into action.
Yeah, you can. It's almost like coming out of his head or something.
It's really cool. It's wild stuff. And then we cut back to like very different. This is going to be Julie and her job as a social worker. But yeah, like completely different feel. All of a sudden, the backgrounds go from white to black, and kind of like garish colors as opposed to more naturalistic colors. Well, except for the purple, but you know. And yeah, she's just kind of we're going to get a bit more about Julie now, who's, like a social worker who looks after the Maxx. She's latched onto him, although you get the feeling that she has a couple of people like this that she gets too involved with. And she's a, man, how would you even just sassy, kind of too sassy for her own good, I think, in some ways.
Yeah, maybe she's a smart character though, and
Yeah.
and again, very different than what you were seeing with the rest of Image.
Yeah.
I can't think of, she's like, I mean, I think she describes herself as described as a feminist at one point. I'm like, did that word ever appear in any other Image comic?
Oh, I can't imagine. I don't think they would have wanted. I don't think they would have wanted to touch it.
No, and I mean, I think he's, there's a little bit, she's just a more interesting character than most of the female characters in any of those comics.
Yep, very different look from any character that's ever been in an Image comic again. Oh, okay. Right, Deathblow #1 is also coming out around this time with Cybernary. That is a pretty good book, actually, that first issue. And as well as Youngblood Strike File #2, Red, White, and Blood. We hadn't quite built up to This Blood's for You. This is Rob spitballing catchphrases.
This Blood's for You is so unintentionally stupid. It's like,
well, yeah,
it's like an SNL sketch. If you did an SNL sketch.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't think Rob thinks too much about how clever a thing is. It's just like, is it catchy enough?
Yeah, maybe.
I think it is, and I think he was kind of right with This Blood's for You. Anyway, I still remembered that shit before I saw the ad, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Like, doesn't matter if it's dumb if it makes me money. So, Julie's going to stop by the police precinct to pick up the Maxx, bail him out, because this is what she does every once in a while. And I love this drawing of the precinct here. Like, this is a tough perspective. Now we get like a lot more detail than we really need about the building here, like showing the ceiling and everything, or the roof.
Yeah, it's great. It's ambitious for an Image comic.
Oh, big time. Maybe not for Sam Kieth at this time. I'm not for sure. I don't know the extent of what he's done really before this.
Yeah, I mean, one thing else, it's such an extreme angle.
Yeah.
That it adds to the weirdness of the world. Like, it seems like warped or something, but it works.
Yeah. And kind of, a little dark and twisted feeling. And like, this is a police precinct, and but it looks like kind of a cross between a police precinct and a back alley that she's walking through here. And she's kind of walking through spotlights. And yeah, it's just kind of an unpleasant world that Sam Kieth's kind of imagined here.
It's almost like expressionistic, like a David Lynch film or something, where
heightened reality. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like someone's perception of like a police station late at night in an abandoned. You don't even see that police officer clearly. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like it's her perspective on a police station.
Yeah, she's kind of the only clear thing in here, really. Everything else is kind of obscured to some extent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she comes by the Max's cell here, where it turns out Maxx put up a bit of a fight when he was being put in. Didn't intend to. It was just that the arresting officer got too close, and the mask looks like it bit him and inflicted some damage. So again, probably a case of the character just not being 100% in control, either of himself or of the mask, one way or the other. But he's loose enough where Julie's able to take him home. And again, they kind of undercut things again, where she's like, you need some new clothes and some food and a hot bath. And he's like, okay, but no bubbles this time.
Yeah.
You get the feeling they're very close, and it's I don't know, a very different kind of relationship than, again, what we've seen in Image comic before this.
Yeah, it has a sense of humor, which these comics, so many of these comics are so like portentous and
Yeah.
heavy-handed, and it's just kind of it's fun, you know.
Or like, you can have a sense of humor, but it has to be a very specific kind. Like, just you can crack very specific kinds of jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say too, very quickly, I love the weight of all the bodies on that previous page, like him sitting and her at the
Oh
bar.
yeah,
Like I love the shape of her and him and the way they just seem like real objects in space.
yeah, all the shadow really
Yeah.
kind of lends to that. Samke's pretty great at that, and he does have some facility with form. He doesn't always use it. It feels sometimes he does go more kind of expressionistic, that kind of thing. But he can draw like realistic poses and stuff when he wants to, or just stuff that kind of expresses the right feel for a pose. Okay, so back at Julie's place,
and you've got the panels that make you think there's some higher purpose.
Yeah, some design of some kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Maxx is kind of crashing on Julie's couch, but he's not allowed to stay long term. She's going to kick him out to the streets again.
It's even just smart the way he drew him upside down in that.
Yeah, I don't think I'd have thought to do that.
Giving you that sense of someone waking up out of a delirium or something.
Yeah, and the amount of texture he'll put into something like the Max's brow here is wild shit.
That's so cool.
Like it's like scaly.
Yeah. Well, it's what sells his style. Like he's very intense. He'll focus and noodle, and it's intense. And it wouldn't work without that in a way.
Yeah, no, because otherwise it would just be mostly cartoony.
Yeah,
and you do need that intensity sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, so from there we're going to cut to just a random laundromat somewhere. Where who is this? This is Glory and Tommy. And they're just hanging out while laundry is being done. Tommy tries to push his luck with getting Glory to put out, and she shuts him down immediately and sends him off to go get some cokes. I have to assume these characters come back. I didn't read too far into the Maxx back in the day. I think I got up to maybe like issue 6 where he starts to cross over with Pitt. And I'm like, I don't know where any of this is going. And like for a couple of issues, that's fine. But once you get to issue 6 and you still don't know, I think at that point for me, it got frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So while Tommy's out, Glory gets assaulted by Mr. Gone. And like just kind of like terrifying shots here. Like this is amazing stuff.
That's an amazing page. I love the like askew angle at the top. I love the aerial shot of the cape going over the machines.
I think I wanted to recreate this somehow, but I had no idea how.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And even like this shot here, like the ground level with all the Izzes swarming towards her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, and it is kind of terrifying in a way.
Yeah. Like this is like horror movie shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like it doesn't take too long, and then Tommy's on his way back with the cokes, but something horrible has happened to Glory. At least we don't see it, but
it's all good storytelling too. Like the way you see him through that like kind of arch, and it's all implied. And then the way that kind of panel of his head against the wall, like it's
off center and everything.
Yeah, but it's restrained, like the thing about Kieth is for all the weirdness, like I actually think he's a good storyteller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I don't really have much confusion for panel to panel.
No.
Other than just like not so much, where should I go as what's going on in this panel? Sometimes.
Well, and they just seem to me like the right choices. Like I think a lesser artist would have shown her maybe beat up or something, and
probably
it just doesn't. It's so much more effective.
Yeah, going for the subtle approach. All right, so from there we're cutting back to Julie's place, where it's still night, or perhaps night again, as opposed to daytime with Julie and Tommy. I wonder if that's just a separate scene he cooked up at some point for Mr. Gone, and then just kind of inserted randomly into the book. It feels like it a bit now, thinking about it.
Or maybe. Although it is leading to a confrontation.
Yes, kind of. It does stay night throughout the entirety of that lead up to the confrontation, though.
Yeah.
So, or maybe it's a bit of a flashback. Let's go with that. So Mr. Gone has been harassing Julie for who knows what reason, where he just calls her up and turns out that he gets Iz's to play recorded messages of him ranting psychopathically, and then they run away, and that seems to be something that happens fairly common. This time that Max is going to seek out the source of the call by the looks of it. This is the only thing that's I mean, Mr. Gone kind of hypothesizes that she's got somebody tapping the phone, so he's not going to stay on for too long. But the Max manages to track down the Iz anyway, which doesn't make a ton of sense, but that's all right. It just kind of leads to the confrontation. And like, this has to be close to the most panels there has ever been on a page.
Yeah.
Like 24 here, if I'm counting correctly, which is just about like high pace, I think, because you don't have time to just like linger on any particular shot. And the shots are largely simplified. I wonder if this is, because I saw in the credits there was one for finishes. That's Jim Sinclair. Because some of this stuff doesn't quite look like Sam Kieth. It looks like kind of close, but yeah, I'm not for sure. I know there was a guy that he decided he really liked and that he would get to help out sometimes, because Sam Kieth, of course, would get very time intensive and labor intensive with his pages, so he would need somebody to help him catch up. But anyway,
and it would make sense. It would make sense to do it on this page where there's no room for rendering, really.
Yeah. Detail isn't any kind of priority.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, if you do have somebody lingering too long on a specific panel on this page, you're probably doing it wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So Max chases the Iz's through a bunch of alleys. Can't chase him through this one because it's too skinny. But it does slow him down, so he's able to run around to the other side. The Iz's leaps past him into a garbage can, which it's able to chew through. So when the Max tries to trap it, Max raises the correct question of, if he can bite through steel, why is he running from me? Yeah, it's a crazy page. And from there we go to a gas station. Why not?
Well, I appreciate that. One thing I like about Max is he'll he starts in the conventional alleyway, but like he's willing to draw like a laundromat or the lights above a gas station. Like, he's willing to go to different places, which already sets it apart from so many other Image comics, right?
This feels like a direct reference, like he was using a photo.
Totally, yeah.
Just the amount of shadow on there and the way it's set up.
Yeah.
So I wonder if this is like Sam Kieth had this cool looking gas station that he wanted a confrontation to be at. The Iz jumps off the roof onto, well, it kind of splats on the ground, but on top of one of these sort of lit up pylons is Mr. Gone, and Max leaps over to that, and they're having this. Yeah, that's where they're going to have their confrontation.
I love the way the panels are falling as they're falling.
Yeah,
very clever. And that the Mr. Gone head, that's an example of what I was saying earlier, where like the shape is almost it's an unrealistic shape, but within there's a lot of like not realistic's the wrong word, but there's a sense of like dimensionality and and texture and contours and yet the shape is almost like just like a rectangle or something.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I think that's just really wild. Like,
Yeah, and I mean, you get that all over again with the Maxx here, where we get all sorts of detail with things like the body hair, which didn't really show up much before, but that's okay, and the shadows, and then his back is just like a curve, yeah, like you were saying before.
It looks like he draws a circle every time, and then just
like without a template, just kind of roughly, just okay, let's get into it now,
and then draws within the circle.
Yeah. And we learn here that Mr. Gone has some kind of knowledge of the Maxx that the Maxx doesn't have of himself. Where Mr. Gone knows about the Outback. He knows about Julie, obviously. And, well, they have some sort of history together where they're enemies, or, I mean, they're probably enemies. And now this is going to be the conclusive battle to that. And the result of which is, Mr. Gone and his Izzes versus the Maxx, essentially.
Well, and there's two. I mean, the two things I like about it is, as I was saying earlier, it does complicate the initial. I think the initial premise is like, oh, what if we had this guy who's living in two worlds, but he's probably got like a mental health issue or something, and he's hallucinating. But
this lends some credence to that other world, though.
Yeah, which makes it more interesting, because if it was just about delusions, you would be like, okay, well, why do I ever care about the fantastical stuff, right?
Yes, it's fun visuals, but like I'm not invested in it.
But then what's nice too is you get the full circle thing where he's like, damn, still talking out loud again, which is
callback humor.
It's not the best written comic ever, but like it's fucking Watchmen compared to your typical Image comic.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like all the characters are kind of interesting. There's interesting settings. There's a premise that's you're trying to figure out. It's a good first issue. And look at the thickness of that.
I love almost everything in this double page spread here.
Yeah.
But like the thickness of the bicep here and the arm, I assume you're referring to in this case.
It's crazy.
Yeah. No, that must have been like the thickest brush he had, and just like probably put down the shape first and then just started filling in, and then spent the next like week filling in again.
And the genius of that bicep is you've got that, like, I don't know how thick, I'd like to almost want to measure it, that thick black cartoony brush stroke, and then that fine nib.
Yep.
It could even be, there's definitely nib on there. I don't even know if he goes to microns for the tiny little hairs, but it's just the juxtaposition of that. It's like the juxtaposition of everything, and the the cartoony hands with the leopard. Like it's such an interesting style.
Yeah, and the amount of detail on the arm here, which is kind of the focus, and then it's almost completely blank on the hand itself. Again, it's just one of those weird things where it works, but it kind of, I don't know, shocks your eye a little bit for a second.
Shocks your eye, and then it does it, but it also it totally complements the subject matter, which is about a cartoony fantastical world juxtaposed against a gritty realistic world, and you get the two styles. I'm putting on my like English major hat, but really it's like the two. There's the way Kieth can pull in disparate styles. It does work really well for this subject here.
No, I agree. And some of the nastiest looking Izzes I think I've seen. I guess the quickness of the lines with these teeth, it looks so jagged and just out of control.
It reminds me of something you'd see almost out of Vertigo, like a Dave McKean kind of thing, or even a Sankovic, an earlier.
Sankovic, I could say.
Yeah, it's got that like almost like underground adjacent kind of energy.
Yeah. And we actually get a cool villain shot for Mr. Gone here, which I don't think we're going to get too often, but No,
I
this is
love the one. I actually love the one on the previous page where he's facing Maxx.
where he's kind of dumpy looking.
I love it. He looks like he's like a little bowling pin or something. It's amazing.
Yep. It feels like he's cosplaying as this character a little bit in this one.
Well, and kind of everyone is in a way.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, I do love this spread though. It's fantastic stuff. All right. Oh, and the Maxx number 2 is going to be coming out shortly, with another great cover.
So I have a question for you. You may you because you have the deep knowledge, right? Like
I don't know how much Sam Kieth knowledge I've got, but I'll give it a
well,
shot.
I know. I mean, I notice looking at my early run of Maxx, like when you flip over, so you flip over 1, you get the cover of 2. When you flip over 2, you get the cover of 3.
Okay.
When you flip over 3, you get the cover of 4.
All right.
He seems like really organized compared to like.
Yeah, that's true.
Were the other image guys putting out, like, is there an issue of Youngblood where it shows you the cover of the next one?
No, I can't imagine offhand.
Like, was Sam Kieth like more consistent? Like, I get the sense that he was more consistent. I don't know.
I think at the beginning, at least, he was probably more of a professional than some of them. Definitely more than like Rob or something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, like Youngblood would start out. The reverse side was mostly flipbook stuff, right, where he was introducing something else. Yeah, I can't think of, maybe like Eric Larson with Savage Dragon might have done something comparable. But I'm trying to think of like the schedule, because that's not quite like the right amount here. These are the 2 Maxx issues I have, is 1 and 4.
Yeah.
Everything else has gone missing over the years. But yeah, so March, April, May, June. Yeah, we're missing like 2 months in the middle here. That's not bad, like for Image. It's not like he's taken 2 months off in between every single one or anything, but.
Well, I honestly enjoy. I was surprised how much I liked the first issue, because we're revisiting this stuff. It's been a lot of years, and
oh yeah,
I always liked Maxx back in the day. But I started rereading the second one, and I might just reread the ones I have, because I was really enjoying it. I also have this. This is the half issue through Wizard.
Ah, you prick.
Which also comes with a certificate of authenticity.
Ooh, very official.
But what's actually cool about this is it gives you can see his blue line layouts. I don't know if you can see that for the laundry scene.
That is definitely a cool thing to have in a Wizard 1/2 kind of issue.
Yeah, it's not huge. It's not there's not a ton of stuff, but it's a neat little thing to have. I mean, yeah. But this was fun. Like, if you ever track down some more, I'd happily do more.
Well, I think the first few issues I can get a hold of fairly easily. It's just, up until like issue 20-ish. At that point, it starts to become a treasure hunt.
Yeah, but apparently it had because I didn't go that deep, but I liked the early issues a lot. And then, then I got into stuff like Chester Brown and whatever. But I remember I've been enjoying these so much. I might see if I can track down some more, but
maybe. Yeah, well, it gets very weird towards the end of it. Like it stops being about the Maxx essentially at some point.
Well, and my understanding is the letters pages became almost like the way Cerebus had a community, a whole community formed. And this interview thing I was reading with Sam Kieth, he talked about how I forget how old this was, but maybe it wasn't that many years ago that he was in talks. He's been in talks with different publishers to try to bring all the Maxx stuff back, I guess in trades.
I'm going to assume that's an older one then. From what I understand these days, he wants nothing to do with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's done trying, because he's I don't know, he's had all sorts of bad experiences with people trying to sponge money off him.
Oh no.
For just about everything he's done since Image, I think. And
sad.
To this point, he's like completely retired and doesn't really want anything to do with comics anymore, I think.
Oh wow. Well, I
It's
mean,
like,
he would have. I think he would have. I guess he would have made a lot off the cartoon and all of that too.
I
So
don't know how profitable that was. I think it's mostly the Sandman thing that
wow.
provides his income. Yeah, I mean, he comes out of retirement every once in a while to do something like with Batman or
Hmm.
something like that, and something like he knows will be received well, and will make him some cash, and then he kind of takes off again. Um,
Yeah.
I
Well,
know.
but the thing I was going to say is with this interview, he said that at the time, I mean, this was
Yeah.
obviously utopian vision, but he was contemplating a whole volume that would just be the letters pages because
Oh
apparently,
yeah.
a robust and funny and interesting like fan community sort of congealed around the book, and this is all like pre-internet chat room. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Well, that's an important aspect because yeah, the Maxx really took on a cult following. Like it's one of the few comics you can say that about. You always get cult movies where people latch onto it and they got to trade shit back and forth, like information about it. You didn't get that a ton with comics, but the Maxx was definitely one of them. And I know that chat rooms, once those started popping up, the Maxx chat rooms were lively.
yeah,
And that really kind of kept it going for a lot of people too. Like for a lot of people, the Maxx is their favorite comic, period.
yeah.
Yeah. And they are like just like fierce in their adoration of it.
No, it's. I think. I mean, it's. I'd like to go deeper. I'm gonna try to just for my own enjoyment,
Yeah.
see what I can see what more I can turn up. But I think it's a. I think it's a cool comic, and also it seems like some of the the early Image comics. Maybe this is an unfair characterization, but like because I mean, they sold a lot, right?
Yes.
But they were kind of like they were sort of like successes imposed from above. Like there was no way that like Brigade and Youngblood and Cyber they weren't there was no way they weren't going to sell a lot, right? But the
Yeah, I
Max
mean, there was the potential it could have fallen through, but yeah, it's pretty likely.
yeah, but it seems to me that like the Max was like a legitimate success in that yeah, it had the high print run early on, but it actually spawned a legitimate like fandom or whatever.
Well,
And
I think it did the thing that a lot of those comics might have done, where yeah, the first few issues is all speculators and people trying out a new thing, and then once you get down to issue 6, 7, 8, you've weeded all those people out, and
mhm,
all you're left with are the people who love the comic for what it is, and it turns out
yeah,
the people who do love it intensely.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It always struck me that that there were some successes that were more maybe legitimate's a strong word, but they like maybe more authentic.
Yeah.
And Gen 13 is probably one of those in a way. Like that was kind of like a surprise hit. Like people actually wanted to read that for a while.
Yeah, well, I think J. Scott Campbell's style was a big thing, and he had a lot to do with the writing on that. And it was just more fun adventure stuff, which a lot of the homage stuff kind of strayed away from. They would get caught up in like Tom Clancy-ish mysteries and shit. Like nobody gives a shit about that with superheroes, man. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you think we should wrap up or?
I think so. I mean, there's probably more than you need, but
Yeah.
I should go do some work.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, I'll do the wrap up. So that's gonna end it for this one. Thanks very much for watching, and thanks Jay for dropping by. Oh, do you want to talk about your strip at all? How long before that comes out?
That should be out actually any day now.
Okay.
In it'll be a 2-page strip in a Canadian literary magazine called Canadian Notes and Queries
Okay.
(CNQ), and it's sort of a venerable old Canadian literary magazine, and Seth, the cartoonist Seth, usually designs the covers for that, so it's kind of a
Mm-hmm.
neat little mag. But yeah, I have a little comic strip coming out in that. So
Awesome. Yeah. So if you want to check out more of Jay's work, then because we did mention that in the video, then I'll absolutely go check that out and pick it up. But that is going to do it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification so you know when the next one's coming out. Go and subscribe on my Patreon. That'll give you access to everything I do, from the Blood Force stuff, the pages and the finished comics, to the YouTube videos before they get uploaded to YouTube, usually a week or so in advance, as well as some Patreon exclusive content. You can also follow me on Instagram and DM me there for commissions. So yeah, once again, that's it for the Maxx #1. If you want, we can do more Maxx in the future. If you have other suggestions, feel free to drop them in the comments. But yeah, that's it for now. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye. Again, I'm not going to show you too much of it because they are all available on the Patreon, but I'll show you a couple here. Oh, you know what? Let's not do this one.